Meeting of Village of Lake Bluff Board of Trustee in a very crowded room. So thank you very much for being here today. A notice was received by a member of the village board in accordance with the village electronic attendance at meetings policy. Trustee Susan Ryder will be deemed authorized to attend this meeting electronically unless a motion objecting to the member's electronic attendance is made, seconded, and approved by 2/3 of a member of a village board present at this meeting. If there is no motion, and request by trustee Ryder is approved, and I declare this trustee present. No motion?
No motion.
Thank you. So trustee Ryder is approved, and I declare that trustee Ryder is present to this meeting. Thank you.
Do you need the clerk?
Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Ingeman.
Aye.
Trustee Brienne.
Here.
Trustee Fisher.
Here.
Thank you.
Trustee Ryder. Can she hear me? Trustee Ryder.
Here, I got it, here. Sorry.
The village president and village president Charlotte.
Village President Charlo.
Présent. Please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next are the consideration of the minutes of the May 9th, 2022 Village Board meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any changes? Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Ingeman.
Aye.
Trustee Brienne.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Hi.
It's good. It's all good. She doesn't need to call you. It's her proof, no.
No.
Yeah, you're good.
Thank you. Next are our non-agenda items and visitors. The village president and board of trustees allocate 15 minutes during this item for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the village board of trustees on any matter not listed on the agenda. Each person addressing the village board of trustees is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Do we have anybody willing to say a word?
It doesn't appear anyone's raising their hand virtually either.
Thank you. Let's move on. Next is item number 5. The village board sets the order of a meeting. The village president and board of trustees will entertain requests from anyone present on the order of business to be conducted during the village board meeting. So I do understand that item 13, 14, and 15 will take precedence. Do we have anything else?
You probably want to reset it after that.
We'll see. So,
Excuse me, 19,
19?
15?
Without objection. Without objection.
Without objection, we'll move on to item number 13.
Before you do this first, right?
Right.
And you'll come back.
Could I please have Mr. Michael Hosking to join me at the lectern, please? Michael. This is resolution number 2022-31, honoring the public service of W. Michael Hosking to the village of Lake Bluff. Whereas W. Michael Hosking came to the village of Lake Bluff with over 35 years of exemplary public safety management experience as the former director of public safety of the Lake Forest Police and Fire Departments, to serve as our deputy chief of police from March 2014 until November 2017. And whereas in his primary role as deputy chief of police for the village during that 4-year period, W. Michael Hosking successfully served as a mentor in his support of a then new police chief and 3 newly appointed sergeants, sharing a lifetime of experience, assisting in investigations, overseeing patrol activity and training, riding along with each and every officer to build trust, relationships, and understanding, all while supporting all aspects of the department and garnering the praise of many Lake Bluff residents. And whereas the retirement of a then police chief created the opportunity for the village to name W. Michael Hosking as interim department manager in February 2019, and fortunately, thank you, he agreed to stay on until May 31st, 2022, to help develop the department and elevate the entire village management team through his gentle, authentic, and thoughtful leadership. And whereas W. Michael Hosking has loyally and faithfully served Lake Bluff residents and has been essential in leading the department through the COVID-19 pandemic, devoting countless hours to help keep his team safe and guide his leadership group and troops with a steady and calm hand. And whereas, with a strong understanding of the importance of volunteerism and how Lake Bluff has provided firefighting services for decades, W. Michael Hosking has been a loyal supporter, team member, and friend to the Lake Bluff Fire Department as well as other village departments. And whereas Chief of Police W. Michael Hosking has received countless awards through his 4 decades of law enforcement service, but for those who have had the honor and pleasure to know Michael Hosking, believe that his most heartfelt honor has been the relationship he has found and forged over the years. And whereas the strong support of Michael's family and especially his wife, Carol, who attended the swearing-in of the members of the police department when possible to help welcome them to the Lake Bluff family, contributed greatly to his service and accomplishment on behalf of the village of Lake Bluff. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the village president and board of trustees of the village of Lake Bluff, Illinois, that the village of Lake Bluff hereby recognizes W. Michael Hosking for his many significant contributions to the village and its residents. And such recognition and the gratitude of the village of Lake Bluff be publicly expressed to W. Michael Hosking for his service to the community, and that this resolution be incorporated in the minutes of this proceeding, and that an executive copy of a resolution be delivered to W. Michael Hosking. Thank you. So next is item number 13, a resolution appointing Matthew Merzinski, Chief of Police, and approving and authorizing the execution of an employment agreement. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The village has been preparing for the police chief Mike Hoskins' retirement from the village of Lake Bluff for several years, and the village executive team is pleased to recommend the appointment of an internal candidate to now lead and manage the Lake Bluff Police Department. For the chief of police position, current Lake Bluff Deputy Chief Matt Merzinski is recommended for appointment by the village administrator, chief of police, and village president because he has demonstrated over his almost 20 years of service to the village, and in a recent assessment, the knowledge, skills, and experience to lead the Lake Bluff Police Department through our next challenges and opportunities. Mr. Merzinski has shown excellent leadership through the pandemic and has demonstrated he will be able to, one, increase the public trust in the police, a national issue; two, address the call for police reforms, locally implement body cams, technology, and training; and number three, continue to attract and retain high-quality law enforcement professionals. Mr. Merzinski is a graduate of Western Illinois University, BA of Law Enforcement and Justice Administration, and a BS in Psychology, and has a master's degree in Forensic Psychology from Argosy University. He has completed supervisory of police personnel and staff and command school at Northwestern University and the prestigious Federal Bureau of Investigation National Academy. It's a big deal. Under the term, and we're very happy to have Matt here, under the terms of the attached employment agreement, Mr. Merzinski will take over as Chief of Police on June 1st, 2022. Are there any questions? This is a roll call. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brian.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Trustee Inkeman.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Next item is item number 14, a resolution appointing Eric Gerkey as Deputy Chief of Police and approving and authorizing the execution of an employment agreement. Is there a motion to approve a resolution?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. The village has been preparing for the police chief Mike Hoskins' retirement from the village of Lake Bluff for several years, and the village executive team is pleased to recommend the appointment of an internal candidate to help lead and manage the Lake Bluff Police Department. Over the past 20 years, Lake Bluff Sergeant Eric Gerkey has proven himself as a leader and law enforcement professionals, and is now recommended for appointment by the village administrator, chief of police, and village president to help lead the Lake Bluff Police Department as the next deputy chief of police. Mr. Gerkey will bring significant local law enforcement experience and administrative expertise to the position as we look to continue CALEA accreditation protocols and help manage the transition of new department leadership and a number of new patrol officers, all while meeting departmental and organizational goals. Mr. Gerkey is a graduate of Carroll University in Waukesha, Wisconsin, with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and politics, where he was named the Senior Male Scholar Athlete of the Year. He has completed supervisory of police personnel and staff and command school at Northwestern University, and under the terms of the employment agreement, Mr. Gerkey will take over as Deputy Chief of Police on June 1st, 2022. Are there any questions? If not, this is a roll call.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Ryder?
Aye.
Trustee Inkman?
Aye.
Trustee Brand?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item is item 15, the swearing of Police Chief Matt Merzinski, Deputy Chief of Police Eric Gerkey, and Sergeant Jim Reynolds. Matthew, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Matthew Smerzinski,
I, Matthew Kuzinski,
having been appointed in the office of Chief of Police in the village of Lake Bluff,
having been appointed in the office of police in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the county of Lake,
in the county of Lake,
aforesaid, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duty of the office of Chief of Police
and that I will faithfully discharge the office of Chief of Police
as of June 1st, 2022,
as of June 1st, 2022,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Poor Susan.
Thank you.
Sir.
Eric? Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Eric Gerkey,
I, Eric Gerkey,
having been appointed to the office of Deputy Chief of Police
having been appointed to the office of Deputy Chief of Police
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the county of Lake aforesaid,
in the county of Lake aforesaid,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duty of the office of Deputy Chief of Police
I will faithfully discharge the office of Deputy Chief of Police
as of June 1st, 2022,
as of June 1st, 2022,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Yeah, that was permanent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jim Reynolds,
I, Jim Reynolds,
having been appointed to the office of Sergeant in the village of Lake Bluff,
having been appointed to the office of Sergeant in the village of Lake Bluff,
in the county of Lake, aforesaid,
in the county of Lake, aforesaid,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Sergeant
and I will faithfully discharge the office of the duties
Of-
of Sergeant.
of the
Duties
office
of
of
the office.
Sergeant.
That's the one.
Yeah, sorry. As of June 1st, 2022,
As of June 1st, 2022,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody for coming. We really appreciate it. Celebrating Mike. I promised Mike we wouldn't do anything for him. I'm a big fat liar. But had we put it on the agenda, he wouldn't have showed up. So, but thanks to everybody. I think everybody's going to gather across the street
Cross the street
for refreshment. And thanks again for everybody. Appreciate it.
Good job, Regents. Good job, Regents.
Okay, so we know we have,
Item number, I wrote it down, 19.
we've got 19, we've got,
Regis, you're gonna have to use your gavel.
we have all this. And actually, geez,
He's such a good guy. Just the
Oh,
best.
it's- Yeah, okay, we got it. Sure. Yeah.
so 16, 22, 17, 16, 19, 22, 17.
Okay.
Flowers are strong. Are you getting that too? Are you allergic to stuff? I was like, wow, those are from twigs. They're nice.
Nice.
And you're showing off your Explorer.
Are you getting this all down, right?
Are you glad that trial's finally over?
Yes.
What you got? Post-trial motions doing?
Yeah. So we extended them though till tonight. Got a couple.
Was the presiding
Till
judge.
tonight, but we're gonna have like, yeah, it's interesting how we're gonna just.
Escaped
But
us.
a lot less pressure than that has been like fighting for him in any context. He hated Brian, not Larry. He hated himself.
He was trying, I talked to him, he had court.
I heard they just got his house. I heard his social
They haven't closed that.
Oh, okay, so it's like brand new. That's exciting. Especially in this market, everything flies off. There's no inventory like Bluff.
That's right. Planning that the house that he bought.
Guy that's
That's good. That's shit last year.
just to come out here. How are you, man? Good to see you. Great. Good to see you.
Like full cash.
You know Peter Friedman?
Hi, good to see you. Everything's great.
Right.
Well, when you never retire, that's what happens. Yeah, so wait, serving since, you've been chief since 76, right? This is our village president, you just showed up. John is reigning champ. Are you probably the longest tenured chief in Illinois? Or maybe strike one?
Low rates. I'm a big fan of
great.
breaking a
Everything
flyer.
good?
Everyone's against us.
Like a kid.
It's great. Needs to balance. That's how you got out of the 70s recession. Right. No, it's true.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Thanks, Chief. Really, he did a lot.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Great seeing
He
you.
was such a callback. I didn't realize he's back up on the.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
For 6 months and then till September. So.
Thank you for sharing him. Get his brain going again.
You know the sacrifice, so
Yes, it's interesting.
Great.
Prop him up, Carol.
Good community room. Tell a story. You still
Tell to the best of my limited ability.
He's great. I love him. He's great. Yes.
Bye, for sure. Thank you so much.
Chuck, thank you.
You guys have chosen wisely. You got a great when we give them some break.
Thank you. Please do. Thanks for coming.
Bye, Judge.
Good? Enjoying yourself? I am.
Judge, you look much happier now that you've left my division.
I hear you.
Don't say that about me, man. I enjoyed my
Did you?
years in family.
You just didn't
It's
show it.
such important work, and it's so.
You did the job beautifully. You were my favorite to be.
That's very kind of
You
you to
did.
Pony?
You were always my
Ridley?
favorite. But I do say that to all the judges. So.
Practice law, I wanted to like prosecute.
Oh my God, what happened?
And now my son,
Oh,
prosecutor.
Yes.
You've chosen well.
Yes, we are extremely,
We're very lucky.
extremely fortunate.
When I tell them to call Mike for advice, except on how to retire. I don't know how to do that very well.
Okay, let's see. So then one more. Hold on.
Thank you, Judge.
Judge,
Let's do. Hold on.
Fire department.
Yes, but hold on.
19.
Full house.
That's good.
Yep. Let's resume our meeting. Next item is item number 16, resolution authorizing.
19.
19. 16.
No, remember.
he asked to, we have to go back to the beginning.
We took it out of order.
Yeah.
Revised, item number 19, a resolution approving a plan for continued temporary outdoor food and beverage service within Block 1 of a central business district due to the COVID-19 emergency. Is there a motion to approve a resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The village board discussed outdoor dining on Block 1 of Scranton Avenue at their April 11 meeting. The consensus was to remove the dining from the parking spaces on the south side and allow it in parallel parking spaces on the north side. The village board requested that the Architectural Board of Review review the appearance of the proposed plans and make a recommendation. Rob Douglas presented proposed plans to the ABR on May 3rd. The ABR discussed the plans and voted 5-0 to ask for some revisions to be reviewed by Chairman Hunter to confirm that the revision matched the ABR intentions. The attached revised plans has that approval. The plan consists of a plywood on 2x4 wood joists to create a deck even with a top of curb and the adjacent sidewalk. The deck would be painted with a sand textured paint. A metal railing runs along the street edge with festoon lighting running from poles to the building. Beer barrels used as planters would protect the corners. These elements are modular and can be disassembled and removed at the end of the October event, reinstalled for the next season. Any questions on the board?
I do have a few. The
Don't have a motion. Well, yeah, you do.
number of seats in these plans is 72. I don't know if anybody noticed that or not. And the existing number of seats presently on the sidewalk is 60. So I'm just trying to figure out if we're really have two businesses that can service 130 people. I just think this is excessive. I've said in previous meetings, I think we should move on. I'm not sure why just using the rest of the sidewalk isn't sufficient. That's one thing. And then just the ask of a commitment of 5 years. I don't understand that either. I don't believe any municipality is doing that. That seems excessive to me. I don't see why, even if ROI is not our concern. So what I'm confused about is why it's not just year to year. There's no COVID emergency that, exists in the same way, but 5 years to encumber public property seems excessive to me. And as I've mentioned at previous meetings, we're not allowing this anywhere else in the central business district. So those are two things. And then the third thing would be, there seems to be a dividing space. I assume that delineates one section for Mavery and the other for the brewery, or is this kind of catch as catch can? I've had conversations with one person at Mavery, and Greg from Mavery expressed his satisfaction with the seating on the sidewalk and nothing more. They're pretty much at max capacity, mostly just from a standpoint of not having enough servers to accommodate more seating. So to me, I'm ready to move on. I don't know if anybody else has any comments, but 72 seats out there is a lot. That would put 130 seats out there.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah.
Any more comments on the board? If not, this is roll call.
I don't know, do you have any comments? Yeah.
Please state your name and your address. Thank you.
My name is Rob Douglas. I live at 673 Maple Avenue in Lake Bluff. I'm also the managing member of Block 1 Properties, also an architect in town, too. I think the title here, due to the COVID-19 emergency, I think that is a term that really isn't really applicable anymore. I think a lot of what was occurring here with this concept was, well, let me put it in perspective. Probably at least 10 years ago, the whole idea came up with parklets, which is somewhat similar to what we've configured here as far as providing expanded seating during the summer months because people like to be outside. Then you went through recently, the concept plans of the redoing of the sidewalk along Block 1, expanding the sidewalk to accommodate more outside seating. So this is really being looked at as an interim solution. And yes, there was a time we were asking for that 5-year window, which is unrealistic. But what I'd like to say is that we are putting some capital investment into this to make it nice. And we would like to think of this as a collaborative effort between the businesses in the Block 1 buildings and the village, and to, this is really a kind of a test run to just see how this functions with the expanded sidewalk, with the idea of possibly the sidewalk being expanded. We don't know when that'll occur. I know the village is seeking grant money for it. It's an unknown of when that might happen. Obviously, if that money did come along, then this type of configuration would not be repeated, but I do believe the guardrails can be taken down and reinstalled on a seasonal basis so they still could be used with a new sidewalk configuration as far as containing dining people from pedestrian traffic. It'll help control the sidewalk. But I think my whole objective is if the businesses are doing well, then the building is doing well, and the village is doing well. The whole central business district is thriving. So try to look at this as a collaborative effort, and we'll work with the village board on a year-by-year basis, but we want to have a successful downtown and successful businesses that we can support. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Rob. I share your opinion. I believe that the village we have today is the residents have clearly expressed their like of what we have today, that is outside dining, outside eating, outside being together, transforming our spaces to be more pedestrian friendly, and the ability to be outside and see friends. And I think COVID-19 had that benefit, that positive effect to bring us outside together. And from my standpoint, I want to continue this to happen. Thank you. And thank you for what you do for Block 1.
I would just like to add that I look at this as an opportunity for us to give a trial run with temporary fixtures and the ability to kind of tweak what we're doing or decide something very different is still out there. I appreciate the investment in making this version look nicer and safer than previous iterations that were tried out. I think we continue to evolve and try to meet the needs of businesses, the needs of residents, putting it all together, knowing that at some times those things are actually in opposition, but we try to find those places where things can align. So I appreciate the effort and the ability to give a trial run for a period of time this summer and see if indeed we do have excessive seats that are not being used or areas that we can improve safety. This is a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, Barb.
Can we just, for clarification, I think Kate's mentioning of this 5-year concept, which was mentioned in the letter, but I just want to make sure I'm not seeing it in the resolution, and I would want that, if it was in the resolution, I'd want to have a condition or amend the resolution, because I agree. I think the plan is visually exactly what we discussed when we talked about moving forward and changing and leaving the tent behind, and it has a more visually stimulating and appealing approach now. I like it, but I agree, I don't think we should have a blanket 5-year. But I'm, again, scanning the resolution.
The resolution is November 1 is when it goes away.
Right, that's what I thought. So that's all I want to add.
Thank you. Suzanne, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. I thought that, and it appears that we've struck upon a good compromise. It's not everything that was being asked for by the businesses, nor is it a return to status quo ante. But it is an opportunity. I think we should look at it as a opportunity and appreciate investment in the investment that'll need to be made to work for 1 year. If we had a crystal ball 2 years ago, might have made that investment 2 years ago, but of course we didn't. So I just want to applaud you for having come up with a solution that gets us 90% of the way to what everyone was looking for. So I'm in support of it as drafted.
Thank you. Are there any more comments? If not, this is a roll call vote.
It's a voice vote, isn't it?
It can be a voice vote.
Yeah.
So it's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
The motion carries. Thank you. Next is item number 16.
So I think you need to go back and make sure, since you're going to take these out of order, so you're going to say without, if there's no objection, you'll take them in this order.
Without objections, I intend to take item 16, item 22, item 17, item 18, and item 7A in this order. Are there any objections?
There's no objection.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Next item for our fire department is item 16. Item 16 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of replacement SCBA equipment and authorizing the disposal of the village current SCBA equipment. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. The Village Fire Department recently obtained a federal fiscal year 2020 Assistance to Firefighters Grant, AFG, award to replace its existing self-contained breathing apparatus, the SCBA equipment. The fire department currently operates 31 SCBA units manufactured by MSA that were purchased using AFG funds in 2011. This grant allows for the replacement of these units with 33 new SCBA units, including dedicated equipment for 2 additional firefighters added since 2011. The grant anticipates total costs in the amount of $239,525, which consists of $228,119.05 in federal funding and $11,405.95, or 5%, in village funding, consistent with the village purchasing policy, resolution number 2022-26, and federal principles of full and open competition. The village publicly solicited sealed bids for new SCBA equipment using non-proprietary specifications, meaning that did not favor a specific vendor. Following the bid opening on May 10, 2022, the fire chief and finance director recommended award to Air One Equipment, Inc. of South Elgin, Illinois, as the best responsible and responsive bidder. Air One originally submitted the sole bid in the amount of $251,125 and, following negotiations, agreed to provide the village with new SCBA units manufactured by MSA for a total cost equal to the AFG project amount of $239,525. Air One Equipment is the sole provider of MSA SCBA systems in Illinois and was the vendor selected by the village in 2011 following a competitive procurement process. They have performed all requested services concerning the village current equipment with great reliability. Purchasing the current version of MSA equipment will deliver benefits in operational procedures and training compared to the 2011 equipment. In addition, 18 of 21 surveyed Lake County fire departments use MSA SCBA units, purchasing MSA units will accordingly benefit interoperability, like equipment training and mutual aid operations. The attached resolution would authorize the village to proceed with the purchase from Air One Equipment in the negotiated amount of $239,525 and authorize the disposal of the existing 2011 SCBA units as surplus personal property following their replacement. Any questions on the board? Chief Graff, would you like to make a comment?
I just want to thank the board for your past support. I think that this program, the Assistance to Firefighter Grant Program, has been outstanding for the village of Lake Bluff over the years, as the award sheet indicates to you. And I think it's quite interesting or quite fascinating that we're able to replace some very high value equipment that we originally purchased with an AFG grant by once again being successful in our application for these funds. The fact that 95% of this expenditure is by federal funds, and the village will in fact be getting $230,000 worth of equipment for $11,000 is a wonderful thing for all of us here in the village. This is truly an incredibly important part of the firefighters' ensemble, and one of the most significant personal safety items that we put our folks in. This village, this fire department, and this village board has consistently over the years ensured that the fire department and the members of the fire department are equipped with the best possible equipment as volunteers to ensure that they're as protected as best they can be. This is another example of that, so we thank you for your support.
Thank you. I'm very pleased we're able to make this happen for your department, and I'm very pleased we're taking the safety of your staff very seriously. Thank you. Any more questions?
Can I make one comment?
Absolutely.
So there was a lot of praise and due praise to the police department tonight, but Chief Graff and those three leaders of the police or the fire department have been around for so long and have contributed greatly to the community and their volunteer service. And they, I'm going to give you applause. They're phenomenal. And this is amazing that I think the AFG grant has changed, approved to just say Lake Bluff. It's the same stamp right now when they go through the process there, because that's all we do is get approved. Thanks to David and his team. So they're great.
That's very kind of you. I'll do it right now. I wanted to do it at the end. The team doesn't get an opportunity very often. You guys stand up when I call on you. From the right, John Crumsey is the assistant chief and chief medical officer. Then we have Steve Willard, who's been on the department. Deputy.
I don't think they heard you how long he's been on the department.
How long have you been, Steve, now?
44 years.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Thank you.
I'm at, this would be my, anyways. And then Greg Marsh, he's the Assistant Chief Operations. Greg, what are you at, 30? 34. 34.
Just a baby.
Slacking off.
And I am at 49.
Wow.
We're having fun. Okay, it's time to vote. Let's go.
Chief Graff, thank you very much.
Thank
Drew,
you.
could I just add on a personal note that Dave and Nancy were tremendous neighbors to my parents for many, many years. And I also had the privilege to live across the street from Tom Everett, and who is a previous chief, and was close with them. So I've been very, very fortunate to be sandwiched in between two chiefs, and I have the utmost respect for you and for the whole department. We're so lucky, and Greg was just at my house again. Thanks, Greg. We're just so lucky, and I think that with both the fire department and the police department, Lake Bluff has many, many things to be grateful for, but you all are right at the top of the list, so thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. This is roll call. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Inkman.
Aye.
Trustee Brienne.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Next item is item number 22. An ordinance granting a special use permit for a brew pub, Lake Bluff Craft Brewing Company LLC at 16 East Scranton Avenue. Is there a motion to approve this resolution? Ordinance, sorry.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Thank you. On April 20, 2022, the Village of Lake Bluff received a zoning relief application from Lake Bluff Craft Brewing Company LLC concerning their existing brew pub at 16 East Scranton Avenue. Specifically, the brewing company requested, number one, expanded hours of operation from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily, an amended floor plan to create a food preparation area that will allow the brewery to prepare and offer food on site. Today, the brewery partners with the adjacent Mavry's restaurant to provide food to patrons. Number three, for the applicant, rather than the property owner, Lake Effect Holdings LLC, to hold the special use permit authorizing the brew pub. Procedurally, this requires the revocation of a brewery existing special use permit and the issuance of a new special use permit. Number four, the ability to serve wine and spirits in addition to beer. And number five, a waiver of the application fees for the present public hearing. Item 1 to 3 above are within the purview of a village zoning regulation and the PCZBA, and were the subject of a public hearing held on Wednesday, May 18th. Adoption of a subject ordinance would, as written, enact items 1 to 4 with modification as recommended by the PCZBA. If requested by a trustee, a reduction of or waiver in fees, item 5 can be placed on the village board agenda, next agenda for consideration concurrent with second reading. At the hearing, the PCZBA considered the request with a primary focus on the requested hours of operation. The hearing also considered incorporating best practices, conditions added to recent grants of zoning relief, including conditions that gather additional information about employee parking and that allow the village board to approve changes to the floor plan and hours of operations without requiring a public hearing, zoning application fee, and other things to be paid. Following the public hearing, the PCZBA unanimously recommended the village board grant the requested relief with the condition that the hours of operation be limited until 11 p.m. on weeknights, so Sunday to Thursday, and midnight on weekends, as well as for an unspecified list of holidays. Based on the PCZBA discussion at the hearing, staff has included the day prior to July 4th and Thanksgiving, as well as an existing allowance to serve until 1 a.m. for New Year's Eve. During its consideration of this issue, the PCZBA expressed support for standardizing the hours of operation for restaurants. Today, each restaurant has its hours of operation set at the time of their zoning application. See attached table, this is actually very interesting. Except that some restaurants are not subject to any time limit except the village-wide limitation on serving liquor between 1 and 6 a.m. If the village board desires, it may refer this issue to the PCZBA for further study as implementation will likely require a zoning hearing. A lot of material to digest in details. And the tables are very interesting to look at as well. Any comments on the board?
Well, looking at the PCZBA's recommendations for items 1 through 5, I'm pleased that that the hours of operation were limited to 11. Actually, looking at this, right, 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. was 1 a.m. was requested, and it was limited with PCZBA focus on discussions to 11 p.m. And I appreciate limiting that, given just the quiet and residential nature of our village and wanting to maintain that. The standardization across restaurants makes sense, and if that requires referring it back to the PCZBA for further study, I would recommend that. I think that makes sense, it's logical, and it helps to kind of just facilitate everyone knowing what the rules are. I believe that makes sense. In terms of the request for a waiver of the application fee, at this point in time, I do not see extraordinary circumstances that would merit requesting a waiver of those fees. So at this time, I do not support that.
I agree with Barbara's comments. I also, we've covered this before with fee waivers and requests. I think much like the issue of hours, our job is to set expectations, and the expectation is that even if a fee has been paid 12 years prior, you're starting again, or you're starting over again. And it's just, we have to have expectations for people's and equanimity, so that equity is a big deal with me, and I think it just is the right and fair thing to do. So I mean, I'm all for improving the ability to attract customers. I think that's great with food, but the hours and the fee would be the only thing that I would want to change. And I do agree that it would be nice to see the PCCBA maybe look at this, but that's all I have really.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate.
Yeah.
Taryn?
I have nothing to add. These ladies said exactly what I was thinking, more eloquently than I planned on saying it, so I'm not going to say anything else.
Thank you. Suzanne?
Ditto. I agree.
So where does that leave us? We need to ask.
Roll call. You could ask if there's any public comment. You're right, because it's first reading.
It is a first reading, and I need to ask for a motion also.
You have a motion.
You have a motion.
You have a motion and a second, and the only thing is ask if there's any public comment from the virtual world.
So do we have?
Go ahead.
Do we have any public comment in the room?
Oh.
Please state your name and your address. Thank you.
Hello, I am Mike Dornicker, owner of Lake Bluff Brewery. My address is 224 Cole Ave. I just thought a few comments on the waiver of the fees. The fees were paid in 2010 when the brewery opened, and again in 2015 when I purchased the brewery, and again in 2017 when I gained 188 square feet on our main floor. And so, we're just asking, I realize you guys work hard, and I don't know what the fee structure is, but I don't think, as many hours will be spent on it this time around is the last 3, being that we're just kind of making a few tweaks.
My name is Jeff Urso. I joined as a partner of Lake Bluff Brewery just not too long ago. My address is 920 Burris. First of all, very excited that you guys feel the same passion as we do about Lake Bluff Brewing turning to a brew pub to be more inclusive to the whole community. We're really excited to add food. We want to turn this into a family fun establishment. One of the greatest things about Lake Bluff that I love so much is summertime. And we were talking about the sidewalks earlier. That's what makes Lake Bluff so special. That's why people want to live down here. That's why they want to celebrate down here. That's why Bluffinia, block parties, and everything else is so great down here, from 4th of July and everything else. So we're really excited to see that life continue to be outside. One of our goals is really to focus on the wintertime and to really build a better, more inclusive environment and a better culinary experience for everyone in town. So from a family coming in on a Tuesday night in February versus just the typical summertime that we've been used to and accustomed to downtown Lake Bluff. So that is one of our main goals. So we're really excited to have a larger beverage menu as well as a food menu. And as you mentioned, the Mabry is doing fantastic, and they are totally maxed out. So our partnership with the Mabry has turned into a little bit where we had to kind of recreate the wheel, and we want to start doing some cool stuff in-house to really help out customers and ourselves, obviously, to make it just a better experience overall. As far as what Mike was touching on, as far as funds for relief, we would love it. As Mike mentioned, it was multiple times. We want to be fair and equitable to the village as much as we ask the village to be fair and equitable to us. We feel that whatever is appropriate and time spent, whether it's designing. Obviously, we're going to be requesting things from Lake County Health Department on the food side, et cetera. So whatever's fair and equitable, we'd be happy to look at. We just feel that at this point that a large investment has been made over the years. So we just hope that the board considers that into their decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Mike and Jeff, you guys represent the spirit we want to see in Lake Bluff. You guys are really creating what we see Lake Bluff today and how the spirit we want to see in Lake Bluff. I moved in here in 1996. I could hear a fly at 5 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, okay? This is the community we love, but you guys are bringing the reason why people want to move here and want to be in Lake Bluff, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate what you guys are doing. So however we can help you and sustain your businesses and your partnership today is what is on my mind today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Comments?
Just want to say it's an exciting partnership, what you've already done and what you're doing with your other projects and endeavors. I'm excited about this partnership. It's great. And I hear what you're saying about the fees that have already been paid. Do we have a total of what those fees are right now? What is the brewery already paid in total?
You've paid $750.
Yeah.
And so that's the application fee.
Right.
And what typically happens with any zoning petition, that's the basic fee that you pay. Then applicants complete an escrow agreement so where that if there's any additional fees that may be required for legal review or engineering or anything else unique, that they would bear that burden versus everybody else, because but for not the petition, the village wouldn't be reviewing this matter. So, and at this time, we believe, we have not received all of the invoices from legal yet for this particular matter, but I think we're actually going to be within that $750. So I don't know, there's no other monies I don't think we're going to be outstanding beyond this.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the challenges we were looking at is the initial 3,000 plus,
But that's an escrow that where you get that back,
Yeah,
if you
right,
don't use
right.
it. And that you didn't turn that in.
Yes, exactly.
But you did do the agreement.
Right,
And you did
right.
pay the fee.
Yeah.
So you're on the hook if it happened, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that the other thing to consider is that they're requesting a change for the liquor license. There is work involved in this. I just think it's the cost of doing business. Actually, what I was going to ask you, Jeff, is what's your menu going to look like, just so people kind of have a sense of what, because it says pub-style food, but I was just interested in what you were
Yeah,
thinking.
absolutely. So we're going to grow into it slow. So it's going to be a transition over the 22, 23 seasons. So this year, we're primarily going to focus on what we're going to do for block parties, which would be bratwurst, dogs, possibly a little bit of burgers. So we have to go through a process with the Lake County Health Department to make sure the space that currently has the brewing equipment is kind of turned into a little bit of a kitchen. It's going to be a small kitchen, so it won't be too extensive. However, stuff that you could find at typical pubs like Timmy O'Toole's, for instance, stuff like that. We're going to do some fun, unique gastro pub stuff, but we're also going to keep it kind of simply. The big thing is being family inclusive for us.
Right. Because you are really limited in that space, aren't you?
Sure, yeah, we're definitely not going to have a cheesecake style factory, man.
That's
so,
okay.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's
not
overwhelming.
Lake
That's
No,
okay.
No, it'll be a
That's okay.
single page, simple. We want to keep
Right.
a couple salads, couple sandwiches, type
Yeah.
of stuff like that.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm good with that.
Susan, any comment?
It's not.
Thank you. So I failed to ask for a motion.
You have a motion in a second.
So this is a, this is a voice vote. I have no clue what I'm doing.
Could I ask for a clarification? If we're voting and we all agree that the fee should not be waived and the time should be changed, and so what are we voting on specifically in terms of language, Peter?
So the voice vote is with regards to the zoning petition. So that's the first vote. And then there hasn't been a motion with respect to the fees yet necessarily. So it's just a motion.
The voice votes with the ordinance when you say the zoning, right?
Yes.
The
So
ordinance.
reading, which doesn't address the fees, right?
Understood.
Or the consensus, which it is to standardize the hours, which we'll go back, we'll take that back to the PCCBA. So there doesn't need to be a vote for that. But after this vote, then there can be a vote with regards to the request. And I don't know if you even want to withdraw it at this point, knowing what your fate is, that there's nothing beyond the 750.
Right, well, if it's 750, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just some confusion between the 3,000, just to clarify for
Right,
people who
yeah.
are watching, because we always forget there are people who might be watching this, that number that was in the packet, that 3,000 is an escrow amount that covers possible fees that would be incurred through work with staff, legal, et cetera. But as Drew mentioned, it looks like it's going to come in right
Within
around
the
$750. So at least that is somewhat less.
Yeah, that's definitely fair and equitable, thank you.
So should we also entertain a motion after this vote to direct the PCCBA to consider ours?
You don't have to.
You don't have to, okay, great. So this is a voice vote
On the ordinance.
on the ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. Anyone opposed? Thank you. This ordinance passes. Thank you very much.
First reading.
Thank you.
First reading, congratulations. Next is item number 17. A resolution approving a site plan for Lake Bluff storage at 105 Albrecht Drive. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you. A second.
Second.
Thank you. Lake Bluff Storage LLC has purchased the former Liquid Controls building at 105 Albrecht Drive. They are proposing to convert the building into self-storage units through interior remodeling and an addition to the east side, included are building plans, a landscape plan, and signage plan. The landscape plan includes the removal of buckthorn and invasive species from the Route 41 right-of-way. The building addition will be clad in insulated metal panels finished in a bone white color, similar to the color of the existing building. The signage plan includes 2 ground signs, one on the Albrecht Drive side of the property and one on the Route 41 side, and 1 building-mounted sign. The building-mounted sign requires an exemption to the maximum 20 feet height to allow the top of a sign to be 22 feet and 3 inches above grade, so that the sign can be centered vertically between the existing window bands and the top of a new raised parapet at the northwest corner of the building. The new raised parapet helps conceal rooftop HVAC units. This item was reviewed by the Architectural Board of Review at their meeting on May 3rd. The ABR voted 5-0 to recommend that the Village Board approve the site plan, provided that the north elevation is revised to include an inset reveal to visually separate the addition from the existing building, and the signs, including the requested exemption. The attached drawings have been revised in accordance with the ABR recommendation. Any comments?
Just wanted to point out in front of you at the dais are the updated drawings. I'm going to share those really quick, unless Mike Croak, if you want to do that. Maybe you can explain it or no. I'll take that as I got it.
Yeah, you can take it.
Okay. So Mike, do you want to walk them through the changes in this drawing, what really it's highlighting?
Sure. Yeah, the area you're circling there is, you know, a revision the ABR asked for, which is a reveal, sort of a notch, and that's a gray color that helps separate the existing building from the new building and, you know, kind of differentiates new from old there. Other than that, we're kind of taking what had the back end of the old liquid controls building and making it the front end of the new building with the office and all that. And these multiple views are all very similar here. We probably could have just done with one. They're all showing the same thing. And, you know, you see the raised parapet up there on the previous view that we just left that helps to conceal the HVAC units from that corner where you're getting a little higher view because you can potentially see it from uphill as you're coming around Albrecht. So that's great.
Thank you, Mike. Any comments from the board? Any questions?
I am,
We have the petitioner here too.
Yes.
oh, do they want to?
Would you like to say a word for the board? If you need to, I mean, not that you're forced to.
Or answer any questions, if there are questions of the petitioner. Yeah. Go.
Hi, I'm John Rasich with Lake Bluff Storage. I appreciate all your consideration and happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you.
I was just curious, my question is less to do with the site plan and more to do with something else that is just a comment I'm going to make separate and apart from your business. So this is nothing to do with your business. But I was curious, just how many employees do you anticipate having there?
Sorry, I'm Mike Zurich, John's partner. Typically, we have a national operator that'll come in. It'll be one of the national brands, and typically they'll have probably 4. There'll be a manager and probably 3 rotating on-site people.
So 2 people most of the time?
Yeah, 2 people most of the time, total of 4.
Yeah. Okay, I was just curious. And in terms of the traffic impact there, I mean, you're not required to do a traffic study, but I'm very familiar with storage units. Do you anticipate, and you have a lot of parking on that site. Are you utilizing the existing parking in its entirety, or are you going to eliminate some of that? Because there's a lot.
The majority of the parking for our customers will be on the north, where the office will be located.
Access.
But the number of trips per day are really not that great, so the truck traffic will be greatly reduced from what was there.
Right.
So the parking lot to the south is something that we are contemplating for some future ideas to present to the board.
Okay, cool. That just kind of segues, thank you so much, into what I was going to say about this. And please, this is more to my fellow trustees than, so please don't take this the wrong way. But my issue with this is that the strategic plan specifically states that we are supposed to maximize in the business park sales tax revenue. And with all due respect to storage, the best business anyone can be in, really, because everybody has so much stuff, myself included. Is that this isn't going to do this. This is a 9-acre parcel that became available, and it's just was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So, well, I'm sure that this is a good business, Metro or other storage companies that come along, and I assume that's what you're talking about, is national brand would come along and purchase this from you? Is that
We develop it, and then we bring them in to manage it, so.
Right.
You know.
So, and now Metro probably wouldn't be the case, because that would be cannibalizing their nearby site,
Correct.
right? Yeah, because they have 2 within like 5 miles. But that was my real issue here, is that this was a missed opportunity, that I'm sorry, in terms of sales tax generation, because I assume that they don't sell that much stuff to be meaningful for us in terms of a revenue stream for the village. So my question is, as developers, what, if any, plans might you have for, because it's such an enormous piece of property, for that southern portion?
We don't know exactly yet, but we've contemplated some additional buildings that would involve luxury car.
Storage?
Possibly storage and or deeded property.
Okay.
That's something that we've been looking at.
Okay. But there wouldn't be any sales tax revenue generated from that or from the storage units. There's no charge on that. And I know I'm hung up on this.
Yeah,
but this is, you know,
it's an industrial building, an industrial park, so to put some retail sales revenue generating component in there, other than the sales office that we sell packing materials and things, that's
Right.
really the sales tax that would be
Locks.
generated, yeah.
Right. Right. I was thinking of it in terms of the fact that the site is perpendicular to Target and to retail, so its proximity to that, and its 41 frontage makes it ideal for something else. But you answered my question, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate. Any more questions on the board? Suzanne, any comment? Thank you.
Just for clarification, to maybe build on what Trustee Briand was talking about. So this area was part of the Waukegan Road Corridor Study going back to 2014, and this area is L1, and it actually borders L2. It kind of splits there, but this has always been, L2 is probably one of the heaviest and intensest uses districts the village has. But this area has always been warehouse, office, and light industrial in terms of allowed uses, permitted uses over time. And that study, one of the I think probably the most powerful things that came of that was to have a more bold, sweeping change to the village's zoning code. A recommendation was to allow more retail uses to generate sales tax, and that was part of it. And I would say that the footnote is knowing that it's still an industrial corridor. It has, this is one of the better lots, as Trustee Briand pointed out, in terms of exposure, in terms of location and proximity to other retail centers. But I think the idea was most of them are not, and that the idea that it would take a bit of a unicorn to fly in and and find these great uses that would be willing to be placed kind of on a off street in a smaller market. But the idea is Trustee Briand's right in that the ultimate goal was to have more of those types of uses in this general area, but for the very reason she pointed out: generate revenue, generate traffic. We want people to come in and eat at the restaurants and so forth. But this has been a permitted use in this district forever, right? It's always been allowed. And in fact, high-end vehicle storage was across the street not too long ago, and then it was, transplanted out for somebody else. But that's been there for as long as there's been nice car dealerships in that area. There's typically been some sort of high-end auto storage as well. So
I have a question for you following on this subject.
Yeah.
One of the ideas we have been floating, including ideas on the board, was the welcoming an hotel in that location, given the high activity at the hospital that is just on the
naval
road.
base, yeah.
And the naval base and our location where we clearly do not have enough hotel rooms. Did we have any interest from any operator in that location?
The commercial real estate broker handling the property did reach out to his internal crews and put out some messaging, but there didn't appear to be any interest. They didn't get any feedback on it. So that did not bear fruit, unfortunately. But
unfortunately, thank you.
Do we know how hard they pursued that?
No, I don't. Right.
I think that's the thing is, with all due respect to the gentleman at Cushman and Wakefield, we just don't know that. And I'm sorry to beat the drum so hard, but this is an opportunity that I assume the storage unit will be there for a very long time. So 9-acre parcels don't come up, and respectfully, I call it a business park. I think it sounds better. So I just see it as a missed opportunity for us as a village to generate much-needed revenue in our biggest economic engine out there. But what you've done with the building is beautiful. And I also just wanted to add, thank you for taking the stewardship of 41 frontage and removing that and hopefully keeping it clean, because I'm sure you've seen that as you've driven by. And so thank you for that. I have to commend you for doing that. That'll be a huge visual improvement for all of us. So, and I think you've done a good job of improving the site. This is not an inexpensive thing to do to change the site trust, given what's in there right now.
Correct, thank you.
Isn't that correct? Yeah.
Thank you, Kate.
And we're trying to give them a clean slate. We're working with IDOT. IDOT claims they're going to have all that trash out of there along from
Yeah, I'm not putting that on you at
176
all, but it's not a good look.
By the end of this month is what the head of maintenance is
I've been
saying.
meaning to talk to Drew about that, but that's okay.
We'll try.
It's not, that easement is not ours, so as long as
State right away.
Yeah.
We're happy to clean it up.
Yeah.
So I'll finish that by having done my whole life in entrepreneurship. Thank you very much for investing in Lake Bluff.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
very much. It's a roll call vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brian.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Trustee Inkman.
Aye.
The resolution passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next item is item number 18. A resolution amending the village's sustainability plan. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The SEC recently completed a review of the village's progress in implementing the village's sustainability plan, which was adopted in 2019. Following its review, the SEC recommends amending the plan to recognize that village residents should reduce their use of gas-powered leaf blowers. Thank you. I work here too. I'm trying to work here too. So this recommendation is pending the completion of the 11 municipality leaf blower regulations regional working group later this year. As a component of a sustainability plan review, the consensus of the SEC was to prioritize the following 4 tasks at its work plan for the next 12 months, not in priority order. Public education, number 1. Number 2, developing an outdoor lighting ordinance. Number 3, developing a bicycle plan. Thank you. And number 4, evaluating the village leaf blower regulations. In addition to consideration of the attached draft resolution, the village board should discuss the SEC proposed work plan and provide any feedback. Co-chair Brian Renner will be present at Monday's meeting to discuss the SEC recommendation and current activity. Brian, would you like to make a comment?
Hello, Brian Renner, 504 Lincoln Avenue. Previously co-chair, now the sole chair of the SEC at this, for the time being. Thank you for considering these items and your continued support for the Sustainability Committee and our activities. We've had really great success over the last couple of years with a number of programs, including our chicken program. It's been very successful. We've had to, as you're aware, increase the number of permits. And with the cost of eggs going up, you're getting a better return than the stock market these days on eggs. So I can answer any questions you might have on the items, on what we're thinking.
I had a question about the bicycle plan. So does that mean that you're looking at routes within the village or places to store and keep the bikes so that it encourages use
Yes.
of the bikes?
Both. We've been working with Drew and the other boards in terms of the downtown bicycle storage. We've had numerous plans for the train station to upgrade the more secure bicycle storage. But as also as part of that, bicycle racks, working with the review boards, we're looking at a way to connect our amazing bicycle paths that we have to the downtown and to the lake. So you have these wonderful paths. I can go to Target, lock up my bike, get groceries, get back on my bike and go home. Right now, it can be challenging to get bikes downtown to the restaurants. You kind of have to stop at a certain point in the village. And also, we'd like to foster the way to get people safely to the lake and to the beach during the summer. And we also understand, I think I heard recently, there's potential revisiting pedestrian pathways to the schools and how we would get safely to the schools with bikes. So that's all part of that, looking at that process.
Thank you.
This is very exciting, Brian. So what is your timeline to consider these items?
We'd like to get through all of this in the next 12 months, believe it or not.
Cool.
The leaf blower regulation, as you're aware, is a multi-community standard with we hope to get a baseline of rules that we would all adopt, so that all the contractors follow a baseline of rules. But the Village of Lake Bluff is free to adopt or not adopt or adopt with amendments. So we'll be looking closely with our committee and with you on what additional enhancements. The leaf blower regulation had focused initially on noise, but the SEC is also very concerned about carbon and using gas and, you know, what alternatives for electric in addition to noise pollution.
The items regarding leaf blower is especially important to me. Representing the community, I get many comments, unsolicited comments about people being frustrated with 2-3 leaf blowers in the next yards and trying to actually get through their day of work on Zoom and fighting with a window to try to keep noise out. So it's important to our community.
Mm-hmm.
There's an interesting statistic about leaf blowers that might feature at the top of your education materials is 30 minutes of use is equivalent to a 3,500-mile car trip.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I don't really feel bad about my spring break road trip because I don't use anything. And I also want to commend you for something that does not get a lot of attention, but I notice here to reduce phosphate-based fertilizers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people realize that you know, the role that phosphates play in algae blooms, et cetera, and also to not use phosphate detergents, anything that has phosphates going into the water. So I love where you're going with this. I do landscaping and landscape consultation. I think this is hugely important, so I'm really excited about this. I think education obviously is the way to go, but those statistics are just amazing, and I agree. There are often times where I watch someone use a blower where a broom would be more effective. And funny enough, really a rake sometimes is just as quick, so thank you for what you're doing. It's great. I look forward to seeing the product of your work.
Thank you, Kate.
I just to add about the lighting ordinance, that is going to be one of our more complicated ordinances to develop. It's going to be comprehensive in covering both commercial, government, and residential lighting. We've had some opportunities to help as projects have come up at the fire department and changing the lighting there to be more environmentally friendly. The work at Jawa, seeing that they had less light pollution when they renovated their lighting.
Village Hall, train station.
Village Hall, train station.
School.
Right. Help with the new T lights outside to make those more sustainable.
Streetscape, yep.
Yep. I think that one of the things we did as when I was on the board, trustee, is that to mention projects like this when they come before you for special use, changing it and asking for your permission to change a building or use a building. You might ask until the lighting ordinance is finalized, what can you do to improve or reduce the light pollution in the renovation of your facility? If you're granting special use, you might as well get something out of it.
Brian, could you talk a little bit about dark sky so people know what that means and maybe give them an example of lighting? Because I remember when the Target development was going in, there was a lot of discussion about the lighting there because of how much it was going to change from what was there already.
Correct. Yeah, that was an example too where they're coming for our approval of the redevelopment, and we asked for a number of sustainability features. We asked them to target, or try and target, we didn't make it official, but LEED rating for the building itself and the inside of the building to be energy efficient. But we also looked at the parking lot lighting. Basically, what dark sky means is it's very simple. You can look up and you can see the stars. You can see clearly. We can see that sometimes in Lake Bluff. If you go out into the country, sometimes you're startled by how many stars show up. And the ways to do that are making sure that the light hits the ground, that it hits the ground and not an excessive amount, but an amount that's appropriate to security and safety and enhancement of the whatever mood you're going for, say outdoor dining, but that it's shielded from going up. It's shielded from going to the adjoining property. Okay, so if you're a residential, it doesn't go into your neighbor's yard. If you're a business, it doesn't go into adjoining park district. And then the other part of the other parts of that are controls. There are lighting standards now, even in Illinois, that are part of any new outdoor lighting. We not only have to turn it off and turn it on at a certain time, but there are regulations to dim it before you turn it off. So there are timeframes in there. There are, of course, exceptions for security and other features. And then the last thing is the color and the quality of light. As we move more and more to LED, we want to make sure that the color temperature is both pleasing but doesn't disrupt wildlife, natural migrations, insects. And so there are certain color spectrums that we've been working with Drew and others to make sure when outdoor lighting goes in, it falls in within a certain color spectrum.
That's very cool.
That's very cool, yep.
And the Target, it's going back to the Target, they made LEED certified, and they were so low-key about it. We found out after the fact.
Yeah.
We're like, what, you don't want to come celebrate this? So,
I
but
just
that was back in
remember
09.
The conversation about the lighting. I mean, there were many conversations about many aspects of it, but since this is in this, that's a big deal. And it's, since you just asked, we didn't even talk about that with the storage facility because there will be lighting there a lot. But that's when you talk about migration periods, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
For birds especially.
Yeah, and one of the things, I think it'll be easy to develop the standard in terms of technical requirements, because those are all out there. I think as a village and working with you, we'll have to talk about how these are implemented and regulated.
Right.
Obviously, special use permits, renovations can trigger some of these things. That's my thought, rather than just making it, you gotta do it retroactive, right? That's not gonna work for a lot of people, so.
Chair Renner, could you talk a little bit more about the plans for the biking plans? Because I have a lot of residents asking me specifically about Green Bay Road, the crossover from North Terrace over to the elementary school, and I'm wondering if these plans are going to take into consideration that area. We have a lot of kids biking to school, and they cut through from other neighborhoods, but that's a kind of...
We've talked about this over the years, but
Yeah.
Drew, you might want.
Well, I was going to say, Jeff, can you give us an update on that permit?
Yeah, we got a permit from IDOT was approved last week for the flashing beacons at Green Bay Road in Washington. So that will be happening this summer.
That's very good news. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that question.
I'm especially happy to see that we're doing work on that. I do remember my son basically learning to ride his bike in the village, 5 years old, and going straight into a sign because the path was not wide enough. So thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, no, it's important. I mean, the sidewalk versus the street for tables, you got pedestrians, right? Number one. Bikes should be number two, and cars should be last. So.
He still has a bump right here. Any more questions? Susan?
I wanted to understand further what action you need from us as the SEC needs for us to support your work. From time to time, we certainly, you've been very involved in review of the chickens, et cetera, and have this biking plan and the bees, but I'm wondering what else we could do that might help facilitate what you're trying to accomplish on the SEC.
Sure. We've talked about getting various items in the budget, such as secure bike racks at the train station. We obviously had a pandemic. We had revenue issues. So I'm not sure, Drew, where that current plan is to fund the new secure bike racks at the train station. If we look at a biking plan, there might be a necessity to get some urban planners to help us with some of the concepts at some point. As committee members, we can only sketch up so much on Google Maps and toss around ideas. So we might have to eventually come to the board and ask for approval for urban planning firm. We've used lots of them here to help us brainstorm some ideas.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions on this board, this is a voice vote. Hearing no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So this resolution passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you, Brian, for what you're doing. Next item is item 7A. This would be our village administrator's report. Mr. Irvin?
I'm going to turn it over to Glenn. Our intern is not doing this, right? No, she's not.
Do not have an intern this time.
But we have the illustrious chair and market manager here tonight who have sat patiently on some very comfortable seats, I'm sure. But Pony Swanton and his lovely bride, Gridley. So thanks for staying. Having flashbacks from this, right, Pony?
Yes, so Mr. President, Board of Trustees, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. We'll keep the report very brief because thankfully I think the report can be brief. This year is really a return to normal. We don't have to talk about strange site plans. We don't have to talk about face masks. We don't have to talk about sanitizer. We can just talk about having our happy little exemplary farmers market. So again, we are, as you'll recall, ever since 2008, this board gave dispensation to the farmers market to operate on the village green, and from time to time, in surrounding areas. We've extended into Scranton at times in the last, through COVID. Again, happy to not be in a situation where that's required now. But the farmers market is a big part of, our culture here in town, our connectivity, bringing interest into our downtown, into our central business district, trying to maximize the value of all the investments that the village, that private property owners and so on are making in having a vibrant downtown. So we bring in some of the best vendors that we can find here in Chicagoland, some going all the way out to Minnesota. I think we actually have one that summers here from Florida now in the nut business. So that might be a new record for our commuting distance, if you're willing to count it that way. But we bring them in and we give village residents a chance somewhere to meet, to interact with each other, to enjoy the social fabric of the village that perhaps has been, we're happy that we were able to provide it in 20 and 21, and we're happy to do it again. Mostly, there's a list of vendors in the packet. We're up to 32 now. We're still in conversations probably with a good 2 to 4 that may come through before we open next Friday. Mostly, I think the best use of this report is just to give some thanks. So the first is to our sponsor at Properties, who graciously came forward kind of here in the last quarter to make sure that we had a sponsor we can do our marketing efforts for the year. So we're very appreciative at Properties out of their Lake Forest office. This is yet another year, I believe the 4th or 5th year in a row, where we're working in partnership with Artists on the Bluff to produce the art for the farmers market. So it used to be done through like I believe a high school competition, I think ran perhaps by Miss Carolyn Bielski, if I've understand correctly. And for the last few years, for the market's 25th season, we had we had this art series commissioned through Artists on the Bluff. We've taken one from that series each year since. This year's artwork is this beautiful farm, corn stalks, that's put together by Beth McKenna, and then Philip Ross, also with Artists on the Bluff, has done the graphic design for that poster, our commemorative bags, the community signboards, and so on every year. So very appreciative to them for their continued help. And then finally, of course, we're appreciative to our market manager, Gridley, and then to our Farmers Market Committee, chaired by Pony Swanton, and also Sean Bjork, Adrian Fawcett, Elise Martin, Sarah Wennick, Kathy Shepard and Daria Andrews. Some of these people you might remember or recognize from 2020 being our mask enforcers there. At the corners of the Village Green, they certainly earned their stripes that year, but every year, certainly since I've been with the village, they invest a lot of time, effort into going out to markets, speaking to vendors, helping us get some of the best quality and really giving us, as village staff, the guidance we need to deliver a high-quality market. So, and of course, our customers. We really appreciate the village as a whole and your support as the board for these activities. So happy to answer any questions.
I'll just say one more thing to brag about you guys, if that's all right. So you guys know. So one of the great things about Lake Bluff residents is that they're passionate about certain things. We got lucky in that both Gridley and Pony are passionate about farmers markets. Obsessively so? Is that a fair statement? But they will go out and wherever they are on the planet and find farmers markets and take notes. And I'm not making that up. So it's there. So I mean
They found some of the best peanut brittle in Mesa, Arizona. Is that right? Yeah.
As the French guy in the room here, I really want leeks, apricots, honey candies. It's pretty good too.
We do have honey.
Shallots?
We have good honey.
Shallots and garlic.
We do have a great deal of garlic. Dig It Garlic, one of our new
So
vendors.
much. This is cool.
It's, as you can imagine, it's very hard to get produce in this area now. Everywhere you go, the new buildings and development.
Yes.
And the farmers are just moving away. And as Glenn said, we're getting people from Michigan, Florida, and long distances from here coming to this market. So we can't find anybody that's any closer.
You're doing a true service to our community. Everybody knows the market. People working in the different corporations around us do spend time to get out of their office and come and visit us. You have put our community on that map. And so I'm very thankful to you for also creating a way people perceive Lake Bluff. And I'm very grateful to the two of you for doing that. So thank you.
We're grateful for your support. It's been a big help. We're very happy that you've opened up Scranton again for us. It's good for our vendors and customers. I think it'll be a big change in the market this year because of that.
Thank you.
We appreciate all your support. Glenn does a fabulous job. Came to Lake Bluff and jumped right into this farmer's market business. He's trained a couple of interns that have been very, very helpful to us. And we're very lucky. We've got really good support.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we're hungry and we're going to leave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I believe we're resuming the normal order of business at this point. Next item would be the warrant report so item 6A, the warrant report for May 10th to May 23rd.
I'm sorry, I apologize for interrupting you, but gentleman's been here, he's waiting, he's on the consent agenda. I wanted to make sure that.
Any opposition to that?
No.
Thank you. That would be. What is the item number?
So they're going to take your item now. They're going to take your item now.
We're going to take care of you right now.
That's 11 and 10, 11, and 12.
Okay, so the consent agenda.
Yes.
So next is our consent agenda items. And that would include the acceptance of a correspondence for item number 10. Please note that all correspondence was delivered to the Village Board of Trustees in the informational reports on May 6 and May 13, 2013. Item 11, that is a second reading of an ordinance amending Title 6, Chapter 2 of the Municipal Code concerning vehicle licenses. And item number 12, being considered here, but is the second reading of an ordinance granting variations for the renovation of a garage on 112 East North Avenue. Is there a request to remove any of these items from the consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on these three items? So hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Ryder?
Aye.
Trustee Inkman?
Aye.
Trustee Brian?
Aye.
Thank you very much. The consent agenda passes. Congratulations. Next item would be
6A.
item 6A, that is the warrant report for May 10 to May 23rd, 2022. Is there a motion to approve the warrant report?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. In a lot of order. As a summary of background and reason for requests, expenditure of village funds for payment of invoices in the amount of $636,363.27 for May 10th to May 23rd, 2022, for a total expenditure again of $636,363.27. As support, the reports and documents attached. Again, the warrant report for May 10th and May 23rd, 2022 for $636,363.27. The invoice register report shows checks with a status of open or paid. All checks with a status of open are computer-generated checks for the board's final approval. Checks with a status of paid are manual checks processed. Are there any questions on this warrants report? Susan? No? Hearing no questions on this warrants report. This is a roll call. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Ryder?
Aye.
Trustee Inkman?
Aye.
Trustee Brian?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. I had Taryn and Brian.
Next is our April 2022 financial report. Is there a motion to approve this financial report?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Bettina, would you mind leading us in this report?
Sure. Good evening. Some notable items from the April financial report include the monthly sales tax revenue on a cash basis for April fiscal year 22 of $282,861, which is $1,964 or 0.07% greater than the fiscal 21 cash basis receipts of $280,897. Fiscal year 22 year-to-date sales tax revenue is $518,475 greater than the May through April 21 cash basis receipts. Building permit revenues for fiscal year 22 to date is $374,197, $7,413 less than the same reporting period last fiscal year. General fund fiscal year 22 total revenues of $12,402,893 are $1,538,682 or 14.2% greater than April fiscal 21 year-to-date revenues. Fiscal year 22 current expenditures are consistent with or less than budgeted for the total general fund. The fiscal year-to-date expenditures of $11,271,060 are $1,189,666 greater than the expenditures for the same period in fiscal year 21.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment that looking at the FY year-to-date sales tax revenue of $518,000 being greater than the prior year is welcome and good news. And so, you know, the village has a lot to celebrate in obtaining those numbers. When we look at you know, the direction of the village, it's in a very positive direction, and seeing those numbers is very encouraging. So we need to celebrate those milestones.
We do. It's a big milestone.
Yeah.
A big recovery milestone.
Well, not to be a downer, but I think it's probably due to an increased CPI and a record inflation. So while I'd like to be enthusiastic, I think this is representative. This is a question for you. Of, you've seen increases in the price of everything across the board. Brian Renner mentioned eggs, et cetera. So we're seeing increased tax revenue. I think you've alluded to this before as a sequela of the cost of goods going up. And it's not sustainable. So we shouldn't look at this. But my question is, this also probably includes revenue generated by the new law that was passed last year in 2021 for out-of-state businesses.
It does.
So we have sort of this tension between those two things, don't you think? I mean, we have inflation as pushing down spending. We saw Target miss their Q1 expectations, so that was tough for them. But we have this increase on the other hand. So how do you use those things for projections as you're looking, at spending?
So not to downplay the increases from the online sales tax revenue, I don't think it's going to have that great of an impact on what we're looking at, because you're not talking about a big footprint in that area for us.
Right.
And as far as forward-looking sales tax, the trend actually looking forward to May and the next month's report is exactly on target with the trend line that we had in prior years. So I don't see a decrease yet.
Okay.
That's not to say that it couldn't happen. It's kind of leveling out and kind of mirroring prior years.
There's a pattern there in that graph, isn't there?
There is.
That follows certain things that happen, whatever those things may be.
Well, it's seasonal, so remember there's a lag in the sales tax return dollars, so you're looking at, May being more like February, March receipts, so you see a decline, the holidays are over, and we're headed towards.
First quarter blues.
First quarter blues, and then summer, and then it picks up.
April 15th, that kind of thing.
So there's a cycle to it.
And then, so building permit revenue is down. I'm wondering how, if looking at, we know where interest rates are going, so do you anticipate that revenue will continue to shrink because interest rates are going to continue to rise? So we'll see maybe like housing starts are lower, things like that, where we're going to see less revenue there and potentially as a result, less revenue elsewhere.
I think building permit revenue will kind of stay the same for us. Most of our revenue in that direction isn't from single-family growth. It's from additions and, renovations. And coincidentally, if you look at May 1, we took in a big tree remediation permit revenue. Had that been a couple weeks earlier, this number would have been different. So it's an issue of timing.
Okay, so that's a good question. So building permit revenue sweeps a large category of things that we might not think of. Okay, but it's sort of a static number, really.
Yeah.
But for the target, it's pretty steady.
Steady.
All the time, right?
Yeah.
You get a couple one-offs here and there, a couple huge, you may get a one-off single-family house that pushes it up a little bit. Generally, we're pretty steady.
Yeah, I just am more concerned about the sales tax revenue just because I see some economic indicators that show that people, throwing out various buzzwords that are, I think we just need to be mindful of. So I'm thinking of you and how you forecast and anything that makes us more able to be perhaps proactive as opposed to reactive. But we can only wait and see, I guess. Because what was the CPI, Bettina? It was high, wasn't it?
From the last levy?
Yeah, from just because I saw the CPI letter that came out from IDR, it's 5%, but I meant just then reported from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's high.
Yeah, it's high.
Yeah,
I don't know the exact number, but it's high.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have to just wait and see. I mean, I wish I was more enthusiastic. I appreciate your comments, but I always feel like we forget that times are tough and people may not shout it from the rooftops, but we're doing okay. But I just think we need to remember that things are expensive for everybody. And so we'll see how this goes.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah.
More comments by Taryn, Barb, Susan?
You don't have any questions?
Thank you. So if there are no more questions on this board, this is a voice vote again. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries on this report. Next item, thank you very much, and thank you, Bettina. Next item is the village attorney's report. Do you have a report tonight?
No report tonight.
Thank you. Next is the village president's report. There is item 9A tonight, that is the creation of a new award for public service, the Elmer Vlit Community Service Award. Is there a motion for this new award for public service?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Terry. I was second.
Yeah.
The village strategic plans have consistently called upon the village to help residents understand, participate in, and lead the wide array of local institutions, initiatives, and traditions that make Lake Bluff welcoming, attractive, and flourishing. The village has affirmed and honored volunteers in a variety of ways over the years, including picnics, community awards, and honorary resolutions and proclamations. Today, the village has a single award for distinguished community service. The Phyllis Albrecht Award was established in 2014 and is named in honor of former village president Phyllis Albrecht, in office 1981 to 1985, and who died in 2015, in recognition of her decades of community leadership. Since its establishment, the award has been issued no more frequently than once a year to recognize the lifetime service of one individual or family in the village. In the spirit of community above self, which Elmer Vlit embodied, Village President Charles recommends establishing the Elmer Vlit Community Service Award in order to provide an additional program for current and future boards to recognize meritorious service. The Vlit Award will recognize volunteers who complete noteworthy community service as nominated by members, this is important, as nominated by members of the Lake Bluff community. An outline of a program is attached that further describes the criteria of the award. So I would like to actually underline that item, that is, there is nomination form. This is a community award. This is actually designated by the community for the community, and so it is not a one person nominating another person. This is very much the community recognizing itself. Are there any questions, comments, reactions to this?
So it said that there will be a committee, that it will consist of the president and 2 volunteers. And then that committee would then review all of the applications and then go through a process of determining who might receive that award in that year, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great that there's an opportunity to acknowledge and recognize the service that so many of our community members are just so willing to do. It isn't the thing that motivates people to serve, it's their love, their sense of duty, and that is what motivates people to do it. So I appreciate this isn't meant to incentivize somebody to do something, because people who do this, they do it because they really, really want to. And it's nice to have an atta girl, when you do something great. So I think it's an awesome opportunity for people to be recognized. So it's a great idea.
I believe that there is a task in the community. Many people are active in our community and are very quiet about their actions.
Mhm.
And I think it's a good thing that, and this is part of actually what is being a volunteer in the community, that is, you do not look for a public recognition. In this case, we'll go out of our way to recognize people that are truly creating our community every day in a very celebratory way.
Mhm.
Thank you. Any more comments? And that would be the award. That would be.
Oh, I remember seeing that these were being created, so now I get to see.
What you saw on the warrant, you
That's
asked me
right.
about.
I questioned it on the warrant report.
And so for that award, what you have right here, this is truly a work of Village Administrator Irving for creating this.
Because you wanted it.
I did.
Yeah.
But it is very much that design and that format and that.
Right. Well, I love it. It's got the village logo on one side, and on the other side,
Elmer.
Mr. Elmer Vlit.
So this is to
Vlit.
Drew's.
No, it was your idea. I wrote it up based off what you said, so,
Fantastic.
yeah.
Elmer.
Let's go. Thank you. So it is it's a voice vote again. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Next item is going to be
20.
20. A resolution authorizing change order number 1 to the construction engineering services agreement for the East Scranton Avenue streetscape and paving improvements projects. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you.
Got it.
Erin.
Quiet today?
It's a long
Yeah,
meeting.
I heard you. Girl, I got you.
On October 8th, 2021, the village administrator approved a construction engineering service agreement with Gewalt Hamilton Associates, Inc., to perform construction engineering services for the village East Scranton Avenue streetscape and paving improvements project in the amount of $19,615. The amount of the agreement was based on the contractor's initial schedule of 20 working days, in which they would pour all the sidewalks on each side of East Scranton Avenue in 2 days. The contractor altered the schedule to do several smaller days of pouring concrete. Due to this and other construction delays and material availability issues, there have now been 64 working days. This increase in the duration of a project necessitated additional days of construction engineering services fees, estimated to be $10,000. When the village board approved the construction contract for the project on September 13, 2021, it was stated that the total cost would be $735,000. Including this proposed change order, the project is still expected to be completed within that budgeted amount. In accordance with the village purchasing policy, a change order of this amount requires the approval of the village board. The village engineer recommends that the village board approve the change order to the construction engineering services agreement with Gewalt Hamilton Associates for the increase in services required during the East Scranton Avenue streetscape and paving improvement project. That's a mouthful. Questions on the board?
I'm just curious why. Why did we see such an increase, and why did we change the approach where it was going to take 2 days and then instead multiple days? Multiple smaller days.
When the contractor said they could pour each side of the street in an individual day, that seemed kind of aspirational. So they kind of realized that they couldn't keep access to the businesses that way. I should note that the 20 days was not our requirement. That was kind of their schedule they put together. They had, they're still working within our contract and our terms. They just thought they could do things quicker than they could. And the materials availability in winter, and we also, the inspector that we've had, his name is Will Lunt from Gewalt Hamilton. He's done a very nice job kind of being on the contractor about certain things. And we've asked him to stay late a couple times to keep watching what they were doing and keep a good eye on them, which we felt was necessary. So that kind of pushed the bills up as well.
So I have a follow-up question because I was just uptown today. There's a lot of the concrete that was already poured that's ripped up. So are we going to see this again? Another change order? Because there are X's all over the sidewalk, and there are huge portions of sidewalk missing, and all of what was poured as you're walking east on the south side of Scranton toward the library is gone. That was just done.
Yeah, it was completed late last fall. We rejected that work because of issues with it.
Right,
So
that's, I guess, my point, is if they're doing such a hot job and we're gonna pay $10,000 more and they're standing there, how on earth did that happen? I don't understand that. I mean, I'm sorry, but this, you guys know, this is where I get really hot. Like, we're paying these people, they created a 20-day working schedule, and we're paying because they couldn't abide by it? That's their mistake. And now to see this is outrageous. I mean, the entire corner is gone because it wasn't done right in the first place, evidently. And now Copenhagen's back. I'm not even going to get started on what they did to how they planted the trees. But I was shocked to see this. And somebody called me this morning and said, "What is going on with the sidewalk?"
I fielded the same questions.
I'm sure you did, because this is just, I have a lot of issues with the way the sidewalk looks. I'm not a fan at all of the color, blah, blah, blah. But to see all these X's and think that this is gonna be done again, and then we're gonna be on the hook for another 10 grand, I have a hard time saying yes to this. I just don't see the justification. If they're good at what they do, then they should have planned better. And when we approved this, everybody knew there were gonna be delays. That was happening all over the place. There were all kinds of supply chain issues. So this really, to me, is just falls flat. I don't buy it, and here we are again, and I'd like to know how much this is gonna cost us now, because I'm sure it's not gonna be free.
Well, the contractor ripping out the rejected sidewalk, a lot of that was due on the corner. It looked like it had rained on it. They had a and from the Ozinga Ready Mix who supplied it here today, just kind of look at it, and there was some question if it was salt that caused the problem or something with the sealant. But all those issues with the contractor's work, that comes out at their expense and gets replaced because it wasn't up to par. Some of it was vandalized or stepped in by people walking. Some of it looks like contractor footprints, some does not.
Right.
Somebody put their initials in one of the squares pretty large, so we rejected that as well. The bills from Gewalt Hamilton, I guess my answer to some of your comments would be, they represent us on site, so we hire them to be there when the contractor is there. The contractor's schedule that they told us would be 20 days. They could have told us it'd be 40 days. They would have, added the $10,000 to the contract then, and it all would have kind of looked the same. It's just unfortunate that they were, like I said, a little aspirational with what they said they could do. And the fact that they couldn't do it, didn't really, it could have saved us money if they would have gone faster. It will cost us more as they go slower. That's typical of every project.
True, but I'm just curious, this $10,000 is for last fall, right?
This $10,000, normally I would bring you this change order at the end of the project. It would be a number with pennies at the end of it, not an even round $10,000. But finance wants to close out last fiscal year. So in talking with Gewalt, we had about $8,000 from last fiscal year. We said we're going to make it $10,000, and it's up to. We only pay them for their actual time. And Gewalt had said if they go over $10,000, they're just going to waive the rest of it. So they've agreed that they will not have any more change orders to their contract. There will be one for Copenhagen. We have asked them to do extra work.
Right, but what I'm wondering, Jeff, is who's out here now with this? And are we going to see another bill for this? No, because
like I said,
that's what I'm saying.
Some charges up to the 10,000, but Gewalt has said they will not bill us any more than this. We agreed this would be the maximum number, even with the extra work that's going on.
Well, I suppose it's a good time to mention that Copenhagen is having issues with the city of Evanston for work that was considered, let's just say, less than ideal. Fountain Square fountain that they installed doesn't work. So, and now we've got this. So maybe we'll think about choosing somebody else next time, because that's just crazy. So I'm glad we're not going to get charged for it, but I just don't, and I hope too, one of the things, Jeff, I wanted to ask you about the sidewalk there is that I noticed that the base of the light, of the street lamps, the base was left almost like water could pool in it. So was that one of the problems that they're ameliorating with this redo? And what else? I mean, how much of the sidewalk is going to be redone?
I believe they removed everything today that was slated to be redone. The black X's you saw were the ones that we had asked them to redo. I didn't check to see if everyone was removed today, but that was their plan.
Oh, no, there are a lot of pink X's all over the place. Now, are those different than the black?
No, they went back. When we walked this to develop the punch list to give to the contractor, we subtly marked them in the corner. You would have to look really hard to notice that we had marked them, and then they've gone back with orange spray paint or pink spray paint and made it bigger to mark the ones that they're going to, which they did. And I don't think they got through of everything. They didn't do all the demo today. Most of it was focused on the corner down by the community church's property.
Right.
So they didn't get through taking out everything. They cut a lot of it, but they didn't pop them out yet.
Yeah.
We're trying to make sure, they need to get done by the end of this month, right? And we're trying to encourage them to get done as good and carefully as they can, knowing that there's a finish line coming up, that we wanted them to be done before Memorial Day. And so that we're trying to get there, and ideally they would pour everything and it would be cured by this weekend. And that's their,
Well,
that's what they're trying to do.
Because you've got, I mean, I don't know when they're going to do that. Jeff, you said rain was an issue. It's going to rain Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'm not sure when they're going to do that. I mean, they just don't, Mother Nature's not being cooperative.
Well, and that's right. It's always weather dependent, but they can cover it and tarp it. And I think they didn't do that on the corner in a way, and that's why they lost it.
Yeah.
You know, so, and that happens with concrete. You can cure it too fast, and it's a lot of it's weather driven.
Right.
So, yeah, but we wanted. I mean, the reason why there's a lot of panels being removed is because quality control. We want it done right. Paying for it. Let's get it done right. And so we have high standards. I'm sorry.
They're eating it.
Yes.
So it's a great news in some ways, not so great for the community in other ways. Jeff, I have a question for you that is more a systemic type of question. That is, we planned for that work to be done in a certain way, and the work was done in a different way for planning and review. So I read in the text, I'd read that actually several times, wondering what was the real issue behind, but delays, material availability, and basically people working a little bit differently from what you might have expected in first. So my question to you is, going forward, and we have block 1 to do sometime in the future, should we expect to plan for finances in a different way? Or was that a fluke? Or should we go back to normal going forward?
When we approved the Copenhagen contract, that cover memo that I referred to in this cover memo, saying the cost would be, I think it was $735,000. We knew that because this got put together very quickly over last summer, that there were some unknowns in it and that there would be some changes. And Trustee Briand mentioned the light poles. We have to have some of the concrete raised around the light poles. The original bid documents, it was an alternate to replace all the sidewalk. So we kind of thought that those light poles may end up still in the grass where it wouldn't have mattered. So when they poured the new sidewalk, some of the sidewalk is too high around the light poles. So we are looking for a cost to raise them from our contractor. So, when we did this approval, I think I put in that memo that we put a contingency in the approval to get to that $735,000. I don't normally do that in all of our contracts, but we knew there were more unknowns in this one because we compacted the design phase so much. So I wouldn't anticipate doing that in block 1 because we would probably have our minds made up earlier and not be trying to get to construction so quickly.
I think I was hinting on that we had scheduled for 20 working days and we ended up with 64 working days. And I understand that they had to do their work in half days, or that material availability was basically, I remember talking with Drew and you about that. I understand that the nature of the work has changed and we worked with it, and that there is a cost difference to us, fine. But my question, and fine, we'll move forward because, I mean, this is where we are. But my question to you is a little bit different. That is, should we expect the same in the future? And so from our standpoint, should we be aware that is the nature of the work has changed? That is my question to you.
So again, we didn't prescribe the 20 working days. That was their initial thought. And we based Ewald Hamilton's agreement on that statement of theirs, if they could do it that quickly. In the future, I guess we would realize that they couldn't do it that quickly. So that would be considered in block one if somebody told us they could do things that quickly. I think we've learned that you can't take the whole sidewalk off one street at one time and still maintain access to businesses. So I guess in that way, you're right, we would probably initially approve a larger agreement with a consultant to babysit the contractor just based on knowing that's probably not realistic.
Yep. Because, thank you for that, and we'll have to do at some point, we'll go back to block one, and we should be sensitive to that.
So when we put out a request for bids, would this particular vendor be considered potential for a lowest responsible bidder, or is the responsible part just kind of null and void, and they would not be invited to submit a bid? Or they could submit a bid, but based on past history, we would disregard it, even if they were the lowest? How does
So
that?
they did.
Go ahead.
They did complete the Mcclory Pedestrian Bridge as well for us just prior to this project. A lot of that, we knew that they also had worked at the Park District at the beach, those brick patios on Sunrise. I think on this job, they were $70,000 lower than the second bidder. And when that comes up, I kind of consider that this contractor probably will take a little more watching than maybe some others. But if they bid 20% lower than the next bidder, or something that makes that worth that bit of headache, then I would probably go forth with a recommendation for them again. If it was closer, then maybe we wouldn't, knowing that they, a small amount of savings if they're the low bidder would be eaten up by additional administrative costs.
I think the short answer is we'll get through this project, and then if and when we get to a point where we see them, then we'll have, based on the circumstances, we'll make a recommendation around that. From time to time, we have seen contractors where we've said, there could be reason to choose contractor B over A, who may be the apparent low bidder. There could be other reasons, so I think that's TBD.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand what we've learned from the process and how we can apply it.
For sure.
Well, and I think we should learn from Evanston's experience as well. They're not inviting them back to correct the work. That's how bad it was. And it's a big deal, and it's public, so I'm not saying anything, I'm not telling tales out of school. But I think given this experience and the fact that now we're disrupting businesses right as the weather's getting nice because they couldn't do it right the first time, is really unfortunate. What I still am stuck on is that we have Gewalt there as our eyes, and this happened under their watch. Purview. And yes, purview. I have a problem with that. Interestingly, the exact same parties are involved in the Evanston situation. It's Gewalt, Tesca, and Copenhagen. So it's like, they move around, and from one community to the next, they all come together. I think that there's something to be said here for their responsibility for this. If their responsibility to us is to make sure this doesn't happen, how did this happen? Why are they cutting the sidewalk? Why are we going through this? If they were doing their job, where were they? And why, for that matter, did piles of dirt and concrete sit by those bench seats for over a month? Copenhagen let that happen. It looked terrible. So I share your concern. I think you get exactly what you pay for. And while I am constantly on everybody's case about dollars and cents, when it comes to this, and everybody's talking about making a destination, boy, it better look good. And quite frankly, I think the concrete, I was hoping it would have aggregate. I am totally underwhelmed by it. But then to see this morning. So hopefully we would go back to looking at bids and consider quality and previous experience when we're doing this, and not just 20% here or there, because what we're talking about for Block 1 is a phenomenal amount of concrete. It's 6,000 square feet. So,
I think there is something else happening. And when I look at the work done by the beach, it looks great at the top of the hill. I love the work they did in terms of, you know what I'm talking about.
are you talking about the bricks?
The bricks. I think they
Mhm.
did
Well-
a great job. I think I loved what they did. I think they got stretched in their delivery, and I agree with you. This is what we have worked very hard to achieve in the center of our village.
They say once burned, twice shy. And that's right, Regis, this is in the center of town. So I don't know, I'm underwhelmed.
So if there are, I don't feel good about that either. If there are no more comments about this, this is item 20. This is a roll call. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Inkerman.
Aye.
Trustee Brand.
No.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
We need 4 votes.
Need for a vote. I will say aye as well. We need to get this done. Next item is item
21.
21. This is, item 21 is an ordinance granting a variation from the village's fence height regulation at 600 East Prospect Avenue. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Thank you. On April 21st, 2022, the Village of Lake Bluff received a zoning variation application from Catherine Denkla for zoning relief necessary to reconstruct a non-conforming fence at 600 East Prospect Avenue. The applicant previously applied for and received zoning relief in 2019 to allow for the renovation and expansion of a single-family residence on the property. The zoning relief requested and granted in 2019 did not account for an existing non-conforming 6-foot-tall fence along the Prospect Avenue side of a property that was removed during reconstruction. The applicant now requests a variation to allow for the reconstruction of a similar 6-foot-tall fence as shown in the attached plans. A fence ordinarily would be subject to a 4-foot maximum height restriction when constructed in the depicted location. On Wednesday, May 18, the Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals conducted a public hearing and, by a 5-2 vote, recommended the village board grant the requested relief. The dissenting members did not state the reason for their vote. Thank you.
Regis, I just wanted to state in full disclosure that I work for the architecture firm that did the original work to the home, and the fence was excluded from that work. And so, you know, in conversations with Drew, that there's no reason that I have to recuse myself, but I did want to just disclose just the association with my employer and this project.
Thank you for your disclosure. I appreciate it. Comments on the board?
Just to clarify, Drew and I talked about this. This is identical to what was there before.
You want to clarify that, Glenn, just for everybody? Glenn is
So people know, because I
Yeah.
think the fences are a thing, and so we want to be clear to the people that might see this or are watching that this is exactly what was there before the house was torn down.
Sure. So in appearance, it's very essentially exact, right? So there's the same rhythm of voids and structure, and it's supposed to look the same. As far as the siting of it, it's not exact. So the fence outlines a different perimeter than it did before the construction of this connecting addition between what was the garage and the main structure. And then it also, I believe it does come forward a bit more to maybe on the order of, visually it's one panel. I'm not sure what the exact dimension of that is, but a few feet. I think also the Craig Bergman, excuse me, was the applicant's landscape designer, talked about them trying to grow ivy or some other type of crawling plants on that. That's not structural to the fence, but it would have a different presentation.
Like climbing hydrangea. Glenn, do you know what color it's going to be? Because in the previous iteration, it was maybe, it looks almost black. Are they, do you know what they're going to
Yeah,
be?
the topic of color didn't come up. I mean, my understanding is what you see pictured there, that same, near black or dark color.
Got it.
It's pretty consistent through the photos, but again, that specific question wasn't asked.
Any more questions to Greg?
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no more questions to this item,
First reading, voice vote.
voice vote. It's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. The ordinance passes. First reading. Thank you. Next item is item number 23.
Yes.
23. The trustees report. This is our trustees report. Do any trustees wish to make a report tonight? I think we're all tired.
I will say one thing. I run a food pantry in Knollwood, and I want to thank everybody that participated in the post office food drive. We were the recipients of 1,500 pounds of food. So thank you to everybody who left a little something out on their doorstep, and the postal workers who collected it. It is a huge undertaking. And we service primarily, we service North Chicago primarily, so the need is great there, but also Lake Bluff and Lake Forest. And I just want to say thanks, because this is an amazing difference maker. I'm still going through the food. 1,500 pounds is a lot of food, so thanks, everybody. Appreciate your generosity.
And again, the pantry is Phoenix Rising, right?
Yes, it's Phoenix Rising Foundation, and we operate the food pantry out in Knollwood. And I just am always super grateful, because we are the beneficiaries of living in a community of very generous people. So thank you to everybody out there in TV land.
This is important. Our community has every social economic type represented. And so the work you're doing is important. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Regis. I appreciate that.
Yep. Anything else on the board? Next is our item number 24, consideration of a May 9th, 2022 executive session meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any changes recorded? No? Suzanne? Okay. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fisher? Aye. Trustee Ryder? Trustee Ryder?
Aye.
Trustee Inkman?
Aye.
Trustee Brand?
Aye.
I understand tonight we do not have an executive session on item 25. So moving on to item 26, that is our adjournment. At this point, I would certainly welcome a motion
Move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Thank you. And we're adjourned.
You gotta call the roll.
Call the roll, can voice vote.